Uh, yes, good morning once again, students that have already signed in. Beatrice Ayeto, you are welcome. And I wish to also appreciate your posts on the main forum. People may not respond, but they are indeed very encouraging. And thank you for the blessings of those communications, especially to build our spiritual growth. I had already welcomed Dison and Kenneth. Sarah, please, you can stay on. You are most welcome to today's session. And we are to look at workplace conflict management with specific reference to communication in conflict resolution and crisis. This is part of what we are supposed to cover in the introductory part. And this session, of course, will be a conclusion on the introductory part that sets the whole basis of foundation of this course unit. As you are familiar, there is always conflict at the workplace. And this session is focused to understand workplace conflict and how to manage it, of course, using one major tool, which is communication. So we will be looking at workplace conflict management, but with regard to how to communicate in conflict resolution and crisis. As a manager at whatever level, it is important to gain these skills, especially with regard to skills, how to skillfully agree with people. Quite often, the cause of the conflict at the workplace is people do not come to agree to one another. I do believe that by the end of this session, we shall have gained the skills, especially to how to skillfully agree with people as a climax of today's session. Betty, you are also welcome, although you keep getting off, but I do believe that you will stabilize, your network will stabilize so that you can hang on up to the end of the session. Today's session objectives under managerial communication and under the topic of workplace conflict management, communication in conflict resolution and in crisis, we hope to, one, identify the nature, types, and root causes of workplace conflict in our context. We shall be looking at it from our own workplace conflict. As I mentioned at the start, and as I've been mentioning, I would like our sessions to be more real life environment, not detached from us, but from what we experience, what we see, what we know, so that we study from a real life experience than a hypothetical groundwork of what has been written, theoretical. No, we shall be looking at things the way they are at our workplace. Analyze the various responses to a given conflict scenario or situation. Of course, here we will be coming on board to also contribute and make this analysis of how we often respond to conflict scenarios or situations. Then the next objective, we hope to discover the relationship between motivation and human conflict behavior. Here still, we shall come in to gain insight and also try to reflect, is there a relationship between motivation and human conflict behavior? Then importantly, we will also learn the tips or avenues to deal constructively with workplace conflict. And of course, this is with regard to how we communicate. Remember, we talked about that even when you don't say anything, you are actually communicating. So we will learn tips or avenues to deal constructively with workplace conflict. Then we'll help participants become master problem solvers and how to skillfully agree with the people. That is skills development. As normally some icing sugar we put on our study, we need to always gain a skill, how to skillfully agree with people. So those are the 6 objectives interrelated. They will not take us a lot of time, but of course we have a stipulated time, not more than 2 hours. I do hope maybe in 1 hour or I mean 1 hour and a half or 2 hours still, we should be able to achieve these objectives. Bashija, you are most welcome. Mr. Yakub, you're most welcome. I am seeing you online. Yes, and let's keep on together, please, so that we can learn together. This very important session. We are looking at workplace conflict management and communication in conflict resolution and crisis. Barnabas, you are saying something, or it is Faith who wanted to speak?
I've just joined. I've just joined.
You have just joined. Yes, you are welcome. Yes, please. Yes, I've seen you've just joined. I have just finished setting the objectives for today's session, and it's good you have muted so that you can listen in. Faith, it's good you also muted. And as we look at this very important session with regard to workplace conflict management and gaining skills on communication in conflict resolution and crisis. As I just mentioned, that work at the workplace, there is always conflict, and we need to gain skills in how to communicate appropriately so that we can ably manage the workplace conflict and resolve the crisis. Going forward, meaning of workplace conflict. Sometimes we fail to understand what conflict is all about. Conflict is as simple as ABC. I don't know, that is a bit rhetoric, but we are going to see what is ABC. It is as simple as ABC. A, there is the activating agent. The activating agent that sparks off the conflict or the crisis. Then B, there is the belief system. And now it goes to the individual responses towards an activating agent. And it is as a result of the belief system. Then C, then there is the actual conflict. C standing for conflict, the actual conflict taking place. So this is why I've called it is as simple as ABC. Activating agent, the belief system that brings about the response, then conflict takes place. Conflict is a lower brain activity typical of survival instincts. It stems from thought, action, belief, and response to given situations. So there is a lot of thought processes that take place, and it is as a result of survival instincts. People want to live, people want to survive, people want to keep their space so that their space is not interfered with. You want to protect your position, you want to protect your opinion. So it is about survival instincts, and through the thought action process of the beliefs, and you respond to a given situation, and before you know it, the situation is a conflicting situation. Patrick Mweske, you are most welcome to today's session. And you found when I've just, yes, please, yes, all the way from Kakomero, but I don't know where you are hiding. Now I think you'll be available since they have lifted the movement. Alex from Kanungu, we hope to see you soon in Kampala, and you're also welcome on today's session. Please, you can mute. You found when I've just given an introductory part with regard to the session objectives, and also trying to define what conflict is all about. The session we are looking at is workplace conflict management and communication in conflict resolution and crisis. Very important session indeed. And as usual, I hope we shall participate actively to give in our real life experiences and how to improve ourselves with regard to communication in conflict resolution and crisis. So you are all welcome. Normally, this is the class I have. I think we are now on full board. And as we push forward, you will certainly be coming on board to give in your views, your opinions, and responses, and how to be better communicators, especially when we want to manage crisis or to resolve conflict. So I was trying to define the meaning of workplace conflict, and I was just saying it's as simple as ABC. There is an activating agent, then there is a belief system, and eventually the conflict takes on. So conflict is a lower brain activity typical of survival instincts, and I said it stems from thought, action, belief, and response. Sensitiveness. Some people would want to believe or say that conflict is as a result or is related with assertiveness. That no. Then the conflict comes up. It is separate from assertiveness. And I will here state that it is neither positive nor negative. Conflict is neutral. I don't know whether you knew of this, but here we can learn that conflict is neither positive nor negative. It is regarded as neutral. And as we push forward, you'll be able to appreciate that not actually all conflict is bad, that actually conflict has got a good side of it, that actually sometimes conflict is necessary if you want to grow and develop. So it is neither positive nor negative. Conflict is neutral. But how you handle it through the biggest tool, communication, will determine whether it is positive or negative. Normally, people handle it badly and it ends up being negative. So we need to gain skills in communication for conflict resolution and crisis so that maybe we may get the positive results. And remember, where it is neutral. So in order to get the positive results of conflict, then we need to be better communicators, especially with regard to conflict resolution and crisis. Let us trace workplace conflict, and we're going to do it together from your real life experiences. Where does conflict at the workplace come from? What brings it? If maybe I can get one or two people to reflect and tell us. I do believe each one of us has been involved in a conflicting situation at the workplace. And what was the precursor? How do we trace it so that we can locate it, the roots of it? And at the end of the day, we shall be going forward to addressing the right causes of conflict and being able to communicate effectively, especially in resolving conflicts. So one or two people, if you have been involved at the workplace conflict, what do you think, or where can we trace it? What was the cause of it? One or two scenarios, please, they are welcome as we study and we look at it. Now we are only tracing what is the root cause, the causes of workplace conflict. And later on, we shall, I think, finally look at if there is a relationship between motivation and human conflict behavior at the workplace. You've had my comment. I am asking, can we trace workplace conflict? Where does it emanate from? Can we have a scenario, one or two, tracing the workplace conflict? Have you been involved in workplace conflict before? I presume the answer is yes. What do you think was the cause of it? If I can have a scenario or two as a case so that we can try to locate or trace the workplace conflict. Yes, waiting to see your hand up and to hear from you. If you try to speak, I will know that you are trying to speak. I'm able to at least see you on my phone here. By the way, I want to thank you for the patience. 42 days got over, and you must have listened in to the president last night, lifting the lockdown, partially allowing movement of people, and also offices, the numbers at the workplace. And therefore, it gives us some hope and assurance that probably as we move forward, we may not change from some of the trends we have already taken, but there is hope of business coming up, and we are able to also at least interact. Very important to physically interact and move, although we are now also coming on to do with virtual interactions like we are doing currently. My question, I was speaking so that maybe somebody can recollect workplace conflict. What was the cause? Before getting in, how do you manage it? That one will come later. But the managing it, of course, we shall gain skills on how to manage if we can trace what sparks of workplace conflict. You can speak generally, or you can give your own example. From your own experience as a manager, as a leader, as a person who has been involved in the workplace, what normally sparks of the workplace conflict? Can we trace it and discuss it here so that we can push forward from a real point of experience? Yes, this one, you can speak. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you, sir. One of the causes of the conflict is the allocation of resources. When the resources are not enough and you need to allocate those resources to different people or different departments, so there is always conflict. Everybody wants to get more than another one. So resource distribution is one of the source of conflict in the organizations. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dison. I agree with you. Yes, resource distribution has been or is a major cause of conflict at the workplace. Normally, resources are never enough, and as such, it sparks of conflict. Yes, I saw your hand, Alex, Mr. Magola. I think your hand. I don't know. Beatrice Ayeto, I see your hand. Yes, Madam Beatrice Ayeto, you can also come in.
Thank you, sir. I came a little late, although we had not yet started. I experienced a cause of conflict at workplace arising from failure to deliver services to our own colleagues. There was this scenario where the human resource officer, I think something happened that the appointment of one of the employees had a certain salary scale, and after a short period of time, the salary dropped. But this officer had gotten a loan using their appointment, which had the upper scale. And later, when they dropped the payment, he was not notified. Now, when he goes away, he calls this gentleman, the human resource officer, to explain why there was a drop in the salaries, because he had moved away from office within. Now, the human resource officer doesn't give a clear example because there was no notification, there was no communication to say that arising from this, maybe this was an error, but this is now what has happened. He kept telling the man in a way that was not pleasing that that is what has happened. You can go to public service to rectify the problem. Now, this gentleman, of course, felt bad because even the salary that was left for him now could not service the loan. Now, when he's not getting a clear answer, they begin to exchange words. And intently, it became an issue that had to bring them to a committee of sanctions. When the man explained his position, he said he was not getting a clear answer, and he did not go to COW because he needed to have a line communication before jumping ladders. At the end of the day, when they brought them together in that sitting, everyone was able to see that the human resource officer was on the wrong because they did not give this gentleman notification for the drastic change in the salary scale. And he had issues. If the salary was not even able to service a loan, what about now the family? And the other gentleman was just arrogant. They reached a situation where the human resource officer, by coincidence, they were even residing in the same place. So the human resource officer got threats from the other colleague. And this man had now to put a padlock on his colleague's door. So you look at that situation. It was a very difficult thing, but yes, when they put them together in that sanctions meeting, they were able to realize where the genesis of the problem came from. So communication can have such a situation which arises from failure to communicate well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Beatrice. for that wonderful scenario, and we are all listening in, because that's a very good example on how an issue, small as it is, can come up, and we are going to trace, we are going to locate that properly. Of course, here you are raising the issue of poor communication, the no clear reason, then arrogance, then later threats. Then, of course, now the issue comes up to either a certain committee to handle, but later on it was able to locate the genesis whereby the HR didn't communicate appropriately. And as managers, remember, every manager is an HR. Every manager is a financial controller. If you are the head of a unit, then you are the HR of that unit. And as such, of course, when we learn how to trace and to resolve and to communicate appropriately, it is good. We can come up being better managers. Alex, Mr. Magora, Alex, your hand was up and off because maybe Beatrice was talking. We want to hear from you, Alex. What do you have to say with regard to tracing workplace conflict? Yes, Alex.
Thank you so much, sir. And once again, good morning, everybody on the platform.
Yes, we are fine. Thank you, Alex. Go right ahead. Thank you.
I'm the usual Alex speaking. Actually, what I wanted to share with you is almost similar to what Beatrice has been giving. However, I can still add on or divert a bit. Actually, conflicts at workplace are quite many and caused by several factors. I would wish to quote a scenario, maybe like, let's say, in an organization where actually, let's look at a very big organization which has so many departments and the sections also involved, and of course with so many workers. It so happens that in the process of the HR allocating workers their specific responsibilities, at times it may happen that some workers are given work that they are not meant to perform or which is not suiting their interests. For example, you'll get a fitter mechanic who is supposed to be in the production department. Instead of going to work in production department where he's really acquainted with the knowledge, this is a man at times who is pushed to go and work like in the warehouse. Now you ask yourself, in the warehouse, this is a fitter mechanic. What is he going to do in the warehouse? Of course, in the warehouse, these are finished products which are stored either for distribution or something like that or consumption. But now a fitter mechanic is taken to a warehouse. He almost plays no good role there. And at the end of the day, it demoralizes him. The work morale goes down because each morning as he wakes up, the mind tells him, I'm going to work, and today, if anything, I must do something to impress my supervisor. But the nature of work he's going to do is a fitter mechanic by profession. He even has the skills in his head, but he's meant to go and work in the stores, or he's meant to go and work in the let's say gen office. And he keeps wondering, now in gen office, what am I going to do really in gen office? So time comes when you look at this man's what do I say? When you look at this man's performance deteriorating, and you keep asking, what is causing all this? But the problem is misplacement. He wasn't given the right job that he wants. And as time goes on, this of course causes conflicts at the workplace. You find he's not himself, he's not relating well with the colleagues, he's not relating well with the managers. So, and as a manager, that's the right time when you say there should be something wrong with this gentleman. The production rate, his production rate has gone down. His morale, when you look at his social behaviors, have changed. So, what could be the cause? In most cases, those are some of the causes that bring about conflicts in an organization. Being misplaced.
Very right.
Then I would also look slightly on a situation where workers are in an organization, they are meant to perform jobs or tasks, but at times the company organization is not providing them with the necessary tools to equip them to do what is expected of them. You find people come on duty, they are just to gamble as if they're working on them on their own, yet they're working for an organization which brought them, it is paying them, and is meant to facilitate them to do a certain function. But in the process, you find somebody has no overall, he has no headgear, he has no boots, industrial boots, and the work becomes a bit difficult. In the process, at times, that's when you start realizing actually workers dropping off, just because the motivation is not there in the organization by the workers or by the managers. The motivation is not there. They have come to work very willing, they have the skills, but they are not equipped. So at the end of the day, you come to realize that what is expected of them is not realized by the company. And as time goes on, a conflict comes in. That's between now the workers and management. That's the little I can share with you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Magora. Alex is the prisons officer from Kanungu, Chihihi, and always very active on the forum. Thank you, Mr. Magora, for that submission. Mr. Patrick Mwesige, I see your hand is up. Please feel free to make your submission.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Patrick.
I would look at conflict coming from two aspects in an organization. One, sometimes it's about the character of the individuals. For example, I will say there are people who naturally think, okay, I don't know how I can describe it, but they always think they are better than everyone else at the organization. They always think they are the most knowledgeable. They always think that whatever they say, they are always right. So somehow, sometimes it will disturb or it will disturb other colleagues, and they will end up being in conflict. Sometimes someone starts arguing with you in your area of specialty. For example, maybe someone is an engineer and I'm a finance officer, but you're arguing with me about finance. There is no way you can know more about finance than me. I'm not supposed to be educating or guiding you, but you want to, you want to think that you have more information. You're more knowledgeable than me in finance. Then sometimes the other cause of conflict in an organization or workplace is sometimes it could be a knowledge gap. I'll give you a scenario. When I was working with a bank, there's a time I was promoted to a position of a supervisor. When I'd just been promoted, there are a few things that I had not yet grasped well at that level. So there comes this customer relations officer. She has a client she has worked on, and I'm supposed to do a verification. She brings it, and I'm fidgeting with it here and there. It takes some time. She goes and then gets back. Remember, the customer is waiting. It is only after I had properly grasped, of course, like after like a month, when I properly grasped the concept and what to do, that things were moving. Remember, there is pressure from this person. The officer, you are their supervisor, yes, but this officer is getting pressure from the client. The client needs to be served and wants to go. The officer has done her part. You, the verifier, is failing to do the verification, and she's getting pressure from the client. It is disturbing her. So that was the scenario. So sometimes a knowledge gap can also bring about conflict at the workplace.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Patrick Mwesige. He's a senior treasurer from Kakomero, for those who may not know, and a member of this class, active member, if I'm to say. Your case scenario is good. Actually, it brings in several other factors, like pressure to deliver can cause conflict, and of course, limited time from the case scenario of customer relations that you have just given us. Knowledge gap, yes, pressure to deliver, and also limited time with regard to the expectation of maybe the client. There we are. Impressed with all the case scenarios, and very right now. Yes, Faith, I see your hand is up. Faith, you can come on board. Yes, Faith. Yes, go ahead and speak. Yes, Faith.
Good morning, everybody.
Faith, we are unable to get you clearly. Looks like where you are network is either poor.
Actually, it happened to me because I'm a bit younger, actually, even on the. So, okay, are you hearing me now?
Not so clear. Faith, you need to locate where there is proper network. We are not getting you where, but you try another time and we see, try to speak and we see if we can hear you.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes, Faith.
Are you hearing me? Hearing me now?
Yes. I hope you can. You are about to get clearer. You are not clear as yet. Yes. Can you go ahead and try to say what you want to say, please?
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you now. Yes,
okay.
Yes. Don't swing from that position.
Okay.
Where you are now.
Okay, I was talking of age as well. Age difference can bring conflict. Hello.
Faith, unfortunately, we cannot continue with you. You try to mute, but we have had that age. We are trying to talk about age. Maybe along the way, we're going to see whether age can come in, but maybe related with character that Mr. Patrick Mesge mentioned about ego. When somebody is young, of course, their level of understanding and reaction and response differs to some people who are mature, or even when others are too old, by the way. So what you're trying to say can also be located under that. Let me try to locate the workplace conflict. From your submissions, I do see that a number of the following areas to trace workplace conflict. And this is from a general point of view, but which clearly highlights what some of the things that you have mentioned. One is personality or temperament. The who clash. Who. I am so and so. So they try to have that the who clash coming in. So personality, temperament, as clearly put from the scenarios, Madame Ayeto Beatrice, what she mentioned to do with the poor communication, you may actually find that the HR had in the personality issue. And the response of this other guy was also on the wall. And of course, when it comes to character as put by Patrick, you see that now somebody thinks he knows everything about all things, even where they are not specialized, but they want to talk. It is their character. Then, of course, Faith was talking about age. You very well know that sometimes there's what we call IQ, intelligent quotient, but also goes with the emotional quotient. And you find emotional intelligence. So the age comes in. It is normally taken. Probably further research can be made. When somebody is young, he thinks like a young person, but as they grow up, they think maturely. But also when they are too old, sometimes they have their personality or temperament issues. They go back also again to thinking like maybe children, and quite often they are emotional. So tracing workplace conflict, personality, temperament, which brings in the who. You are looking at the personality now, the who clash. Two, from the points you have raised, I also notice now objectives, results, disagreement is also a cause or root cause for workplace conflict. When people have got different objectives, they want to achieve certain results, and here you find the why comes in. Why should we do this? People often at workplace disagree on the objectives to be achieved. I remember I was given a consultancy actually to be given a consultancy work, but different heads of departments, directors were saying, no, we don't need this. How can you bring this without informing me? The fear was, if you bring in an audit or evaluation, then it is going to unearth a lot of things. So somebody would say, no, at the moment we don't need this because the reports are showing this, but when an evaluation takes place, of course, everything would be unearthed. So the objectives, the results, they tend to bring in conflict at the workplace. People want to achieve different things because they have different interests. We're also going to look at that as a cause, by the way. But here, the objectives to be achieved, the results to be attained. Somebody says, me, I can achieve this. Somebody says, no, we want to achieve this. So the why comes in as a cause of workplace conflict. Then next is the methods and style. People will disagree at the workplace on the methods, even if the objectives are the same, even if the results are clear. Somebody say, no, this is the way it should be done. Then you are the boss, you are saying, no, I am telling you, do it this way. I want to advise that whenever you give your subordinates work, the objectives are clear. The results you want are well stipulated. Let them figure out the how themselves. Normally, the how can also cause a conflict. The methods can, this is how it is, unless it is clearly stipulated with regard to the do's and the don'ts in a code of conduct. Then if the code is not clear, is silent, for instance, let the people be able to deliver as long as they can deliver the results or the objectives. So the how, the style of work, the method of work normally can cause conflict. I remember when I was a secondary school teacher, people, we were meant to do schemes of work on paper. They would give us books to do schemes of work. So the head teacher and the principal came up with that here we are giving you books to write in. Myself, I was a lazy writer, writing with a pen and filling up all those schemes of work and lesson plans. So what I did, I said, but we have computers. So I would go on the computer and type out my schemes of work. And I would keep on updating that I don't need to keep on writing a scheme of work year in, year out. And in a way, politely, I resisted their move, but I encouraged others to go ahead, those who could write. So I did my schemes of work on computer. That is about 15 or 16 years ago. And actually 20 years, almost 20 years ago. So there, the principal never liked it. He said, no, but everybody's using this book. We bought this book for this. I said, fine, the book, I have it, but I find it easier for me to do it on the computer. And every time I want to edit, it becomes easy. So people would be struggling. Me, I would just go to the computer on a click of the buttons of the computer. I would edit whatever I want to edit, my lesson plans. Then I would print out because we had a good computer lab and the printer was available. Say, why can't we use the technology? So the method, the style can cause conflict. And I think that was the beginning of my problems with them until, of course, I reached the time I had to resign. I couldn't continue as a result of the work style or methods. And when somebody says that maybe you are challenging or maybe because you want to improve, you find what is easy for you. So the method, the style can be also a way to trace workplace conflict. Next is interest. What is it in for me? Quite often than not, and in present times, people look at what is it in for them than anything else. Of course, you can't run away from this human nature. That's how we are. Everybody has got a personal interest. And at the end of the day, there is sluggish to work. People are not responding. Maybe salaries have not been paid on time. And I think Mr. Magora mentioned something to do with morale and motivation, limited resources. Yes, Dison mentioned it, distribution of resources, not enough. Everybody is grumbling for this. Now the interest comes in. People don't have resources to use. If the resources are not enough, surely, what do you expect? And this is as a result of the interest. Procurement. I don't know if we have any procurement officer here, but of course, the senior treasurer, you get to know this allocation, distribution, budget. When it comes to approval budget, giving a vote, oh, my friend, what is it in for me? People are robbing behind their backs, and sometimes you don't have much. You see this even in our governance here. This district was not given this, no ministerial position. No, we shall not vote you now. So it even goes to the workplace, it goes to the departments, it goes even in our families. I will give you an example. Recently, I didn't have enough money at home, and my wife wanted to buy for. I thought we could buy for one of the children sandals, some good sandals. The mother said, "No, you cannot do that. If you are to buy, you shall buy for everybody." I said, "But others have." He said, "No." So the interest factor, and rightly so, what she did was good, because it was bound to bring about conflict. Said, "No, if it is not enough, then you don't buy for anybody. You better look for money, and everybody must get. If somebody is going to get, everybody must get." So interest, what is it in for me, normally can trace the workplace conflict. Confrontation, ego. This is among the key causes of people saying they know it all. They are, it is old-fashioned, well worn out, and overworked. You know, people are stressed. So the ego comes in, say, no, some officers don't even give you time to talk. They don't allow you to discuss anything, you know, and you resist it, the other person, because you are having your own ego. So it is confrontational all the time. Much of workplace conflict is also as a result of this ego being a corner. And normally I would say this because we may have some mature people here on this forum. As students, as people grow older, they tend to be corny. They tend to be stiff, hardened. You cannot change them easily. You cannot bring another view, an alternative way of doing things. And there you are confronting one another. To know it, it has sparked of conflict. Then the next tracing workplace conflict is transference, past experiences. Oh my, these also do affect so much and bring about conflict at the workplace. Beliefs. And if there is one thing we need to work on, is our belief system. If you have a belief system that has not been helping you, it's time to look at it critically and see where you can change and adjust so that you can be a better manager. Normally, this transparency comes in. You have quarreled at home, for instance, your wife has nagged you bitterly, you bring this to the workplace. Yeah, your husband has mistreated you, you think every man is a bitch. And before you know it, conflict is emanating as a result of transference. Your past experiences and your belief system affects one and can be a precursor or cause for workplace conflict. So these are general causes of workplace conflict, and from the examples that you have shared, certainly they fit in where you can see where to locate. So there is the who, there is the why, there is the how, there is the what is in it for me, then there is the ego, and there is the past experiences. You'll find to locate trace workplace conflict, it falls underneath this: who, why, how, what, ego, and the past experiences or beliefs are the causes or precursors for workplace conflict. So the question at the end was, what is the relationship between motivation and human conflict behavior at the workplace? Certainly from what has been mentioned, and from what Mr. Alex Magora presented, actually all of you, the issue of motivation was coming in. When the resources are few, people are not motivated. When the responsibilities, and I think this was Patrick Mngesige talking, you allocate, I think it is Magora still, you allocate somebody who is a mechanic to do a different work altogether, pushed to work in a warehouse. What do you expect? Of course, there will be low motivation. So motivation is also directly related with human conflict behavior. Yeah, when the why is not well addressed, responsibilities, objectives are not clear, the methods or style of work is not clarified, and people are probably tied up to only one way of killing a bird, the how. So all of these bring in the motivation aspect. You will realize that when motivation is low, then it is bound to spark up conflict. When people are not enthusiastic about the work. So as a manager, it is very important to ensure that your communication is motivational. Along the way, we shall also learn motivational communication through when we are learning about public speaking, public communication, talking stuff. Let it be motivational, let it be inspiring, let it be encouraging, so that even when there is a crisis or a limitation of the resources, that still people can be energized to do their work and listening on the conflict. Remember, I mentioned that conflict is neither negative or positive, it is neutral. And you cannot run away from it, by the way. In one way, even if it is not between individual, it can be between self. You also have already conflict in your mind, conflicting ideas. We call this the battle of the mind. And a lot of conflict actually takes place internally in our mind. Why? Our motivation is low. We are lacking this. We are struggling with that. And before you know it, you are really fighting within yourself. But tracing workplace conflict, of course, we said the who, the why, the how, the what is eating for me, the ego, and of course, past experiences as a result, transparency causing a conflict at the workplace. At this point, I would like to maybe profile workplace conflict and how do people respond in these scenarios. Maybe I can get one or two. We have seen the causes, tracing the workplace conflict. How do people respond to conflict whenever there is an issue? And we can also try to summarize them and locate them properly before we can learn on how to improve on our communication. Yes. I was saying, sorry, there was a phone call coming in. I would like to hear from you and probably try to locate. We try to locate a profile of this conflict before we can look at the impact. Workplace conflict profile. How do people respond to conflict? Somebody have given up on network. Somebody failed. And I'm hearing everyone well now. I think this was Faith. It's a pity, dear. Okay, this was your personal communication. Truth, Patrick, thanks. And yeah, it's a pity. Okay, that's fine. Can I get one responses? Can I get one or two responses? Beatrice, I think, has just left. I don't know, probably a network issue. Can I get two responses with regard to profiling workplace conflict? Okay, I can move on to state. I can move on to say that we can. People will, of course, respond differently to different situations, but we can categorize them into 5, and this will give us a way normally to learn how to respond or communicate when we come to the tips. There will be some people will have competition, forcing. People will tend to force in their way to ensure their way is the one which is taken. So you must know that at the workplace, there will be people who will force, like the example Madame Ayeto gave to us. Certainly, this other guy would not allow. He was being affected until he forced his way to locate that was the HR who had the issue. So competition will come up as a result of conflict, and it is what we shall be able to see. People will be forcing their way. Then the other is collaboration. Because of conflict, actually people may come together to collaborate. It may be a problem solving. Unless you have had a conflict or a disagreement, especially if it is not a sharp disagreement, then a collaboration may come up as a result of the conflict. People may come to work together much more closely than ever before. That is after conflict has taken place. Then next is compromise. People will begin to share when there is a crisis, like now, when there is some conflict at the workplace. People may learn to say, if we don't share, then we are all bound to lose, and compromise may set in. Then avoidance or withdrawal. Some people may try to withdraw, to run away, to move away, to resign, because they say, no, I cannot stay in a place where there is conflict. I cannot continue to work because of this. And it is normally said that actually people do not leave workplace, they leave managers. And here they tend to regard the managers as either poor managers. So avoidance is a common profile of conflict. People will tend to move away from a conflicting situation in order to keep peace. Then next is accommodation or soothing, and normally people will tend to say, okay, let me hang on, let me become accommodative because there is nothing to do, or it is for better that way, that I better become accommodative to one another. In fact, this is quite often lacking in many organizations. Tolerance, accommodative, although it has got its costs, but in my opinion, I think it could be a way of trying to hang around as you look for ways of resolving a problem. And at the end of the day, we will all desire where workplace conflict is minimized or is handled well, so that we continue to deliver. Where there is conflict, certainly people will not deliver. I am telling you, it doesn't help anybody to come to the place of work only to start arguing and quarreling, and angers are rising up instead of achieving on the core mandate, on the objectives. So you rather be accommodative, accepting that there is an issue, but rather than boiling it up or competing and forcing or avoiding and withdrawing. Many organizations have lost good resources as a result of failure to manage conflict at the workplace. And of course, as a result of failure to communicate effectively in conflict resolution and in crisis. The impact of conflict on performance. You will find people will be laughing at tasks. People will pretend to be working when they are not working. There will be mopping at work, fueled by gossip. People will be a lot of grapevine and a lot of rumor mongering. Those are the impact of conflict on performance. Morale will go down. Suspicion will be raised, raising suspicion. If you see somebody with somebody, you say, what are they talking? Maybe they are now on me. You get it. Even if you are the manager, you see any group of staff talking, and the moment they see you, then they try to scatter. You see, then there's job hopping from dissatisfaction from one job to another. Normally, that's not a good scenario where somebody cannot stay at a job for at least 1 year or 2 years. Quite often with some jobs, loss of experienced and productive staff as a result of conflict. Somebody was sitting and say, we've lost this staff. It was very good. But what happened? And of course, there was conflict or a conflicting situation there. Opportunity for growth. Normally, I will tell you, I said it is neither positive or negative. Like when people leave job, they will create job for others. So it is not a loss completely. Maybe new experienced and better staff can come on board, and the organization may grow. Maybe people who had lower positions are promoted. So sometimes conflict is good to the junior staff who can also rise up to bigger positions. So opportunity for growth of new staff from their lower ranks, their lower levels, the higher level. And also sometimes it can bring about phase out incompetence. There is no way you are going to phase out incompetence without accepting to deal with the conflict at the workplace. But the way you deal with it also matters. So incompetence can be eliminated as a result of the conflict at the workplace. Then can identify performers through competition. We said when there is competition, then you can know that this one is a great performer and they have good ideas. Then we go with what is good. But the way again you do it matters a lot. So can identify performers through competition. So we said the place of conflict is neither positive nor negative. It is neutral. Conflict is the gadfly of thought and learning. If you want people to reason, then some situations bound to bring up some conflict, manageable conflict, then you'll find that people are able to think and to learn. Unless you face the problem, you cannot change it. Yeah, not every problem that is faced is changed, but you can never change anything unless you have faced it. So conflict offers lots of opportunity, which are positive, but it also inflicts untold pain and pressure, which is negative. How do we deal with conflict is what determines whether it is positive or negative outcomes. Before we go to options to deal with conflict, I want to be sure whether you are listening in and whether I should continue or whether you have something you would like to say. I was seeing some people dropping off and coming back. So I want to be sure that we are on the same page before I can proceed. Yes, one or two people. Let me test from Mr. Ntege Kenneth. I wish to know whether you are listening in, where you are.
Yes, sir, I'm available, President.
Yes, that's very good. And you have been following keenly what I've just mentioned?
Yes. Sir, everything is clear, loud and clear, so nice and interactive.
Fine, fine. Thank you very much, Kenneth, for that response to assure me that you are listening.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I have not heard from Chiwala Betty. I don't know whether Betty is listening in. I just want to know, Betty, if you are listening in.
I'm actually listening, only that network is a bit on and off. Yeah.
Okay, Betty, thank you. Where are you located, Betty?
I'm in Namutumba.
You are in Namutumba. You will greet the people in Namutumba. It is a great district that is coming up and to be great and greater. So thank you, Betty. You can mute now if at least you are following some of the things. Good enough, I will be giving you the handout notes. I would like also maybe to check with you. I did post study material. I wish to say that the study material had been developed. I was trying to review it and revise it, but I realized it was actually too much, but I did whatever I can. If there are a few mistakes here and there, especially with grammar, please bear with us. But good enough, the sessions we hold, I work on them myself, and they contain a lot of information, although in summary form. Then the other study material, please also make use of it and go beyond even to do your own personal research, as I indicated at the start of this course unit, that as a student, your experience is very key. Digging deep to know more is very important beyond what we give you as we moderate, as we facilitate your course of study. Let me now delve into the options to deal with the conflict. Yeah, there are a number of options. Having looked at conflict being neutral, profiling it, and getting to know what it entails, there is a way people will deal with it. One, there is confrontation, fight response. Like the example Beatrice gave to us, of course, you saw that this man had to really confront and fight up to the end. He resisted the careless, poor communication, and I think his matter was worked on. Number two, people tend to ignore the conflict. And I want to tell you, if you manage and ignore the conflict, certainly know that it gets worse. As a manager, you don't need to ignore the conflict, but you can ignore up to a certain time. Yeah, but if it goes beyond that requisite certain time, as you study, as you assess, as you find out facts, as you prepare to approach it, it's not good to ignore. But some people ignore the conflict, and it gets worse in many cases. Then the other response to people, how the option, they tense up, the freeze response, numbness, especially women. Somebody will keep quiet, others will be numb, they freeze, the cheerfulness goes, then there is tension. You are a manager, you come into a meeting, everybody keeps quiet. You talk to yourself, you finish, no response, nothing. Then you need to do something about that as well. You realize that people are not eager to respond because maybe they have not been heard before, or they are silenced quite often. So they feel they get that natural response, numbness. And women tend to show this sign more than actually men. Others cry and hope to will go away. This is also for not to stereotype, but normally ladies tend to also behave in this way, and they think when they cry, the problem will go away. Where it may go away with the time, but I don't think crying helps in any way. Others talk respectfully, candidly to parties involved, and in many cases, we find this is more helpful, although sometimes it can fast escalate. There are people who do not want to be talked to, even if you talk respectfully or kindly. So getting to know the personality, temperament is very critical. Like the way it was resolved up in the case scenario by Beatrice, they had to talk respectfully and candidly to parties involved until they realized the cause of the problem. And of course, they resolved the conflict by saying, no, it was the HR, poor communication and arrogance, and of course the response of threats had come in, locking here and there. So talking respectfully and candidly to parties involved is normally very critical. Even if you are the one involved, you can bring in some other stuff, or you yourself, you can handle it and resolve the matter amicably and respectfully. Others leave, they flee or they run away. Resignations are common in organizations, and it may also not be helpful either, because there is nowhere you'll go to work where you will not find conflict. So sometimes, where if it is your time to live, to grow, it is acceptable. But I wish to say that there is nowhere you will go to work that you won't find a conflict. Sometimes they may even be worse, like jumping from the flying pan into the fire. And many people have regrets from workplace. And I want to tell you, in fact, looking at stress and stress management, 34% of daily stress causes is by workplace. And of course, when we look at workplace stress causes, conflict is one of them. Normally, people tend to run away thinking the pressure, the stress is too much, but still, wherever they go, it may be the same or even worse. So those are options to deal with conflict. You can choose either way you want, although we have recommended talk respectfully and kindly to parties involved and better resolve the matter through effective communication. The story you tell, the self-interests. People have got self-interest. Remember the human nature I told you about to deal with the people. Someone lets you down and it's not the first time. You will say they are irresponsible and unreliable. You let somebody down and it's not the first time. You will say it's because you have been overworked recently. Someone who cuts you off while you are driving your car to work or wherever, you will say they are rude, aggressive, and inconsiderate. When you cut somebody off while you are driving, you will have a reason to say it's because you are in a hurry. And if you don't catch the lights, you will miss your doctor's appointment, or you miss the interview, or your boss's appointment. One of your peers buys the boss a birthday card, you will have something to say. It's because they are soft sopping the boss and trying to win their way in for a promotion. You buy your boss a birthday card or gift, you will say it's because you are warm and caring. They are bad-tempered. Banyivu. Chibaruma. You get it? All sorts of things. Anyway, I'm trying to show you the story you tell. Self-interests. When it is you, it is okay. When it is somebody else, it's not okay. And normally that brings about conflict. Yeah. The golden rule can always apply as a beginning. Do unto others what you would love to be done unto you. Written in the Bible, I think it was a saying by Jesus Christ. I can't quote the book, but I think it could be in Matthew. Somebody, Beatrice, will look for it, and one time we'll post where it is on a WhatsApp group. Do unto others what you would wish or desire to be done unto you. So that's the story you tell. Steps to deal with conflict. One, you need to recognize the conflict. Realize when emotions arise. Define the issue, not just anger responses. Find the right time and place to discuss it. Identify your own contribution to the problem. And normally this is the problem. The problem is not usually the problem. The problem is actually failure to identify the problem is the biggest problem. So identify your own contribution to the problem. List things you have done in the past that have not been helpful. You assess yourself. Yes, list things you have done in the past that have not helped you. And you say, I think I tried out this method. It never helped me. Now, should I try it again or not? Brainstorm, list to find alternative solutions. You can discuss with a colleague or a day. As a manager, you need to have a circle of influence, and you can brainstorm and see how best can you handle this problem. Agree on one solution to try and not many. Don't try so many at a go. Say, I am going to use this approach and that's it. And if not until it has failed or given you positive results, that are you able to change. So agree on one solution to try and not many. Follow the ground rules of communication. And we shall be learning many of these ground rules of communication. And even today, we are going to learn some skills on how to skillfully agree with the people. They are always ground rules. It's important to follow these ground rules of communication. Stay on the target, focus on the goal, do not deviate. If there is a problem, handle it, resolve it. Don't deviate. Give it time when and still stick to the time of resolving the problem. Agree on how each will work toward the solution. Use the words we, not I statements in conflict resolution. We. Remember, I said if you want to be a better communicator and rubbing the people the right way, avoid the I statements. Yeah, let it be the we. This is how we shall handle it. If we do this, then it is likely to give us this, the we, so that you are together in resolving conflict. So agree on how each will work toward the solution, the we together, not the I statements should apply here. Get hold of your belief system and hang on it. Look at your belief system. Your success or failure is as a result of your belief system. So look at whether you should hang on it or whether you should drop it. Set time for another meeting. When you see things cannot be resolved in one meeting, agree that no, let's postpone this. We shall continue from here where we have stopped and review progress and see whether there is some change that is taking place. Affirm and reward each other as contributors to the solution. Always, I will also teach you, we shall be learning on how to skillfully thank people. Yeah, how to skillfully thank people. There's a skill in thanking people. So affirm and reward each other as contributors to the solution. Every little aspect to recognize and affirm and appreciate the step and the contribution of each one. Be open to an alternative solution. Do not be rigid or stuck and thinking there is only one way to do it. Tips for communication in conflict resolution. And these are very, very important. Maybe in the next few minutes, we should be coming to the end, but these are important to listen in and understand. Do not wed where angels tread. Wed means do not try to move in where angels are falling, pedal, strive, or walk. That is wed. Do not wed. Wed is W-A-D-E. Do not wed where angels tread. Tread means failing, falling. Angels are falling. Super managers are failing. Yeah. They are getting in stuck, and for you, you think you will just move. It is important to gain these skills so that you do not wait where angels have tried to work and they have gotten problems or challenges. Keep communication lines open and respectful no matter what. Do not close your doors. As a manager or a better manager or a future manager, don't close communication. Never say never. Yeah, completely. I'll never talk to this person, never. You don't know when you will need the same person. Then cultivate problem solving. Ask the simple, polite questions. How can we, not I? Cultivate those simple, ask polite questions. Drop biases and stereotypes. Offer goodwill and seek clarification. Keep all points of contact positive. Do not cross, even where you live. Please, it is good to live where. Don't cross the contacts. Keep them positive. And at one time, you may need to establish your former contacts. They can help you as you progress, as you grow, or develop your career. So keep all points of contact positive. Yeah, even if there is an issue, you agree to leave, you resign amicably, or you leave. My contract, when it expired as a director, we had to take photos, and while others were having in difficulty, I said, no, it is okay. Up to now, you keep the contact with your former bosses. Yeah. Then I'm saying, do not hold back value for the conflict. Certainly, every conflict has gotten some positive in it. So this value can be taken advantage of. Listen attentively, find areas of common interest, and listen for main ideas. Plan ahead, be prepared, distinguish among facts, reference, and conclusions, attend to behavioral cues. You look at the body language as well as language or diction. Say enough, but leave some things unsaid. Do not say everything. You leave some things to yourself. The moment you are saying want to resolve the conflict and you are talking too much. Recently, I was reading in the Bible somewhere in Amos. He said, if you want to be wise and successful, shut your mouth. As a manager, don't talk too much. Say what is enough, but leave some things unsaid. Talking too much will only lead you to disaster. So don't shun all conflict. Don't ignore conflict, but avoid the unnecessary conflict. There is some conflict which you will ignore. Not every ball that comes to this footballer, Manchester guy is called who, he will sometimes open his legs and the ball will pass there. Not every ball that comes your way, you should kick it. You leave some ball to be kicked by others. So do not shun conflict though, but avoid unnecessary conflict. Withhold value judgment about context or delivery until strategically appropriate. That is the timing is very, very critical. Do not grow things out of proportion before it is time. Tips to assess problems and find solutions. Do not pass blame. Fix the right problem. Fix the problem and know the symptom. Do not ignore the power of complaints. People who complain sometimes help you to perform better. It can be positive. Listen to your team. Listen to what your team is saying. Keep all points of contact positive. Ensure maximum flow. Be the plumber for your organization. When you fix the big leaks, of course, things will start flow. If your roof is leaking, you better fix it before it starts raining on you. So do not ignore. Ensure maximum flow of communication. Identifying, sharpen your problem solving skills. Identify the correct problem, ideate, brainstorm on the problem, evaluate it, execute whatever you have agreed to do, and re-examine the solutions of progress. You'll find this in the handout I give you. The last segment on this is how to skillfully agree with the people. Very important to get this skill, as I promised here with you as we study. The art of being agreeable has 6 parts, and I want to go through these 6 parts. How to skillfully agree with the people. If there is something to take home, is these skills with the people. How to skillfully agree with the people. All of us would want to agree with the people. So we need a skill on how to agree with people. Just about the single most important step you can take to be skillful in human relations is for you to master the art of being agreeable. Truly, this is one of the gems of wisdom of our time. And I want to tell you, the moment you can be agreeable, this is it. Probably nothing will help you so much in your lifetime as this easy to do technique of being agreeable. As long as you live, never forget that any fool can disagree with the people, and that it takes a wise man, a shrewd man, a big man to agree, particularly when other person is wrong. Very, very important to note. The other person may be wrong, by the way, but how do you get to agree with the people, especially if you still need them on board, is a great skill that each one of us should go home with today at the end of this session. So one, learn to be agreeable to agree with the people. How do you learn to be agreeable to agree with the people? Get yourself into a frame of mind, an attitude of being agreeable. Develop an agreeable nature. Be a naturally agreeable person. You may not be seeing me, but you can imagine you are seeing me. An agreeable person is the way he or she behaves. In actual sense, when you are talking, you are nodding your head in agreement. Yeah, when you nod your head like in saying yes, even if you're not saying the word yes, somebody will be able to notice your body language that actually you are an agreeable person, and that is where it is necessary. Learn to be agreeable to agree with the people. Practice being agreeable and let it show that you actually do agree. So getting yourself into a frame of mind, an attitude of being agreeable is the first step. Learning to be agreeable in order to agree with people. You develop an agreeable nature and being a naturally agreeable person. It will pay off. Then number two, tell people when you agree with them. It is not enough to be agreeable with the people. Let people know that you agree with them. Nod your head yes, and look at them when you do it and say to them, I agree with you, Sebo. Or you are right. Yes, that's it. You get it. Let people know, tell people when you agree with them. Next step is do not tell people when you disagree with them unless it is absolutely necessary. I repeat this, do not tell people when you disagree with them unless, underlined, it is absolutely necessary. If you can't agree with the people, and many times you will not, by the way, then just don't disagree with them unless it is absolutely necessary. You'll be amazed at how seldom this will be. Somebody's bring out an argument and you know that they are actually wrong. Why would you keep up the argument to prove yourself that you are right and the other person is wrong? Unless it is absolutely necessary to help out. If it is your child, your kid, you help them out. But some people are already bent. They're saying that you can only shape, bend a stick that is small or young. It all comes into play here. Somebody has grown, sometimes even older than you. You cannot teach an old dog new tricks, these are which you very well know. So do not tell people when you disagree with them unless it is absolutely necessary. If you practice this, you will be amazed at how seldom this will work out in your favor, and even to ensure there is harmony at the workplace. Admit, number four, admit when you are wrong. Very hard to do, but pays off. Whenever you are wrong, say out loud, I made a mistake. I was wrong. I am telling you, I read Pastor Bugembe's post on Facebook when I was there. I left Facebook by the way. Facebook when they had to close us and or not. But I read one post by Bugembe saying the hero for the year, even before the year, he was attributed. The reason he gave was that to admit for the sin he had committed. Very few people will admit they are wrong. Very few. And I want to tell you, if you want to be ranked highly, you can imagine how Pastor Bugembe now ranks highly. He said, my hero for this year, I don't need any other hero. And I don't think there will be any other hero, former Bishop Ntagari, for his sex scandal. admitting it and accepting to go all the way, having reached at the rank of a bishop, archbishop, not a bishop, archbishop, I'm telling you. So admit when you are wrong. Whenever you are wrong, say out, I made a mistake, I was wrong. It takes a big person to do this, and people admire anyone who can do it. The average person will lie, will deny, or do something in between there. It was not me. You know, that's being average. But where you also realize it is wrong, admit. Even the consequences, you will be surprised how it will still work out for you in your favor. You will be regarded as a great person, as a great manager, if you can admit, or the evidence is very clear. There is no need to cover up. Accept that actually you committed a wrong. 5, refrain from arguing. The poorest technique known in human relations is arguing. Even if you are right, don't argue. Nobody wins arguments or friends by arguing. You can never win an argument or a friend by arguing. No, people will just go away from you. So refrain from arguing. You just better keep quiet. And mom say, okay, it's fine. Even if somebody can actually see it from within you that you are actually not completely agreeing with them, but you want to tactfully end an argument or not to get into an argument. So refrain from arguing. The last one, and very important, handle fighters properly. Fighters want one thing, they need a fight. So the better technique to handle them is to refuse to fight with them. They will sputter, they will fume, they will look silly at the end of it. So, and these fighters are everywhere at the workplace. There are people who are always looking for a fight. They will provoke you into a fight. They will unfairly treat you. They will slander you. They will talk ill of you. They will create a story. So what do? Every story that comes up, you're responding. Yeah, handle fighters properly. And I want to tell you that the best way to handle fighters is to completely refuse to fight with them. And at the end of it, they will look silly. They will see you're not being changed. And to me, this has helped me. Wherever I get struggles or fights, I don't fight those small fights. No, even if it's a big fight, I have personal fights to encounter than fighting people and words and rumor mongering and so handle fighters properly. The reasons behind the art of being agreeable, there are 3, and I wish to share them with you as I conclude. 1, people will like those who agree with them. Nobody will like if you disagree. Number 2, people dislike those who disagree with them. Number 1 is people like those who agree with them. Number 2, people dislike those who disagree with them. Number 3, people don't like being disagreed with. If you are the boss, you don't like being disagreed with. If you are the parent, you don't like a child who disagrees with you. You get it? So people don't like being disagreed with. That's human nature. You don't like to be disagreed with. I don't like to be disagreed with. So these are the 3 reasons behind the art or the skill of being agreeable. People like those who agree with them. People dislike those who disagree with them. And the people don't like being disagreed with. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to end here. I want to hear you respond to this presentation, whether we are there for the task, being able to communicate effectively with regard to conflict resolution and the crisis, and whether we have gained 1 or 2 or 3 things as we end our session today. Yes, Alex, Mr. Magola, I see your hand. Please come on board, and we conclude this later with a few other people who want to say something. Otherwise, that's the end of the session. Thank you. Yes, Alex.
Much, thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
Personally, I'm very impressed with your interaction with us. It is really very entertaining, so good, so building, because sincerely, all that you have really told us right from the beginning up the time you are winding up, these are true facts that we are experiencing at our place. I believe the members who are hearing me, we are all managers, and at least we somehow, somewhere have responsibilities at the place of work. And these are the true issues that we are facing on a daily basis. And what really you have told us, to me, I look at it as really an eye opener, because so many mistakes are being done almost everywhere by we people. And if we are really closer to follow what you have been telling us, this is the right time to look back and think twice and ask yourself, what have I been doing as a manager to my subordinates? Because the issues you have been mentioning, for example, how to skillfully agree with the people, there are so many blunders that we are making under this area. You find managers claim they are bosses and they don't want to be teased around by a subordinate. A subordinate will come, he will tell you a problem, although it's wrong or right, and you will not want that subordinate to challenge you. At the end of the day, a conflict arises. You don't want him to like step on you. There are issues of like a boss doesn't want to be argued with, and yet on the other hand, a boss is wrong. In many occasions, sir, I want to assure you this and my fellow colleagues that so many of us have failed to stand on our two legs and say, I'm sorry to a subordinate. I say, forgive me, I'm sorry for whatever I did, depending on the circumstances and the environment. Although somebody will tell you, why do you go and kneel? I'll become too small to a subordinate. But somewhere, sincerely, it is true. You have to tell the person, say, I'm sorry, forgive me, I think it was by mistake. And I hope not to do it anymore. We have got that problem in most of us. And that's why, actually, to me, it's one of the issues that makes us not to qualify as true and real managers in our places. On the other hand, also, as I wind up, I want to assure you, sir, that human nature is very tricky. Not all people are equal. The way you understand and the way you take things is not the way I understand and take them. People are there to think what they do is the right thing. And at times, if you don't echo your voice, to be honest, work may fail you, or the responsibility given to you may fail you. And at the end of the day, you may be looked at as a poor manager. So at times, certain scenarios, as they come, sincerely, one has to be a bit assertive and say, no, whatever you are saying, whatever you are doing, personally, I've been watching you, I've been following you, and I'm not ready to agree to this. I would really love to tell you a story, but it's a bit long, it may take time. But these are two things that happened to me. And at one moment,
Yes,
I
hello?
took it simple.
Yes, okay.
But I realized it was becoming all the subordinate who was doing this, and pulled down. And as I speak, we're in harmony and we're enjoying work. Thank you, sir. Good day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Magora, for your submission and appreciation. I take the compliment. Somebody else have not, Darius, you are there online from Rukunjiri? Yes, Darius. Darius has been conspicuously quiet, but I believe has been listening in because I see him online. Any other contribution before we can wind up and end? Have we learned something? Is there something you agree or you don't agree with? Remember, we are saying we need to be agreeable. So I need to hear 1 or 2, 3 people so that confirm. Beatrice Ayeto. Yes. Ayeto, have you been touched so much to the extent that you can't speak? Ayeto. Yes, Mr. Patrick.
Yes, please.
Yes, Mr. Patrick. Oh,
Thank
okay.
you.
Okay.
I actually had a problem. One, I came to office only to find that power has gone off. Then I transferred to my phone, and I am now walking back to do it at home. But I have enjoyed it all. Actually, it has given me a live example. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Beatrice. Okay, let's listen to Mr. Patrick Mwesige.
Session was really interactive, and most of the issues we're talking about actually relate to what we encounter at the workplace every other. We are going to hand over forward. Thank you, sir.
Yes, you are welcome, Patrick. Thank you very much for that wonderful remark. I'm happy that we are able to move all the way. I'll be submitting your coursework to the coordinators, and I think it will be given to you in the due course. Then the study material that you have, you will of course have to read through and maybe add on. Subsequent sessions also, as much as possible, try to make them practical, but I will have to discern where I do think that it is obvious or easy for us to learn. We shall be just going it as a by the way. I will only be looking at very critical areas that I need to come and give what maybe I may term as expert experience opinion. Then we can always share like the way we have always done. I want to thank you guys who contribute in. Your examples you give contribute a lot to the teaching learning process, because we have got to learn from one another. And always feel free whenever something is said, but you have a direct example, please say it. Put up your hand, I will be able to see, or start communicating. I should be able to say, when you interrupt, I will come it. I have no problem with that, so that you can share with us your experiences and probably guidance and advice. We can learn from one another, and the end result is to be better managers beyond even passing exams. I want to wish you a nice weekend, and please continue to stay safe, to live responsibly as we observe the SOPs, because we want each one of us to stay alive. God bless you. Bye-bye for now. Thank you.
Bye-bye, sir. Thank you.
Daddy. Daddy. Daddy,